Veterans Policy and Finance Committee. If people in the audience could join us and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, audience and testifiers. Our first bill up this morning is Senate File 394. Senator Chamberlain, if he would come forward and identify himself and those who are going to testify on behalf of the bill. Thank you. Senator Chamberlain.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Veterans Committee. Happy to be here. Thanks for hearing this bill.
If you could identify yourself for the tape, that would be great.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chair. Senator Roger Chamberlain.
Thank you. And if you would proceed to give a little bit of an outline on your bill, and then we'll have some testifiers come forward too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. What we have here today is it's a small bill and a fairly small program, but it has can have significant impact in the with veterans. The issue is how they deal with the courts, and so there's an organization that's been around for about 4 years, and they have taken up the mantle to try to help these veterans and assisting and advocating and educating not only the veterans but the courts on their condition. So with that, I'll give you a brief overview. So the Veterans Defense Project, it's a Minnesota-based 501c3, is dedicated, as I said, to educating, advocating, and assisting veterans in the justice system. Historical evidence and current government-sponsored studies confirm high rates of criminal justice involvement among psychologically injured war veterans, often treating them more harshly than civilians committing the same crimes. The VDP is focused on helping the criminal justice system do a better job with this generation of veterans. Using a criminal charge as an intervention opportunity, holding them accountable while ensuring they receive the help they need. Veterans' service and sacrifice are recognized through the opportunity for redemption while better protecting public safety. The VDP provides training for criminal justice professionals who deal with veterans in the court, consulting and referrals for veterans in needs. So this is not an organization that's just going to take money from the Veterans Department and create a practice. They have been around for a while. They assist. They're not saying veterans are blameless, but they see it as an opportunity to assist them and also educate the legal system, criminal justice system, in the difficulties they faced, some of the psychological problems they faced. The gentleman who had the project, they did write a book, a fairly heavy book, but you could read it, Defending Veterans in Criminal Court. So they have written that. And with that, I would like to invite the testifiers up to the desk.
Members, there's a quorum present, and we'll look forward to holding Senate File 394 over for possible inclusion in the Veterans Policy and Finance Bill. So.
Chair and committee, my name is Ryan Else. I'm currently the executive director of the Veterans Defense Project. I'm a veteran. Brock Hunter, who wrote this book with me, is also a veteran. He's president of the VDP. And we've been working with veterans. It's been our niche since I began my practice and shortly after Brock began his 15 years ago.
Sir, if we could just for the members of the committee, let's wait for questions until after the testifiers are done testifying. So just for a brief, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. As our practice has grown with veterans, we've realized that we can't do this by ourselves. Minnesota veterans often end up with criminal defense attorneys that don't know how to work with them. I brought today one of our veteran clients who's done very well after his case, and county attorney, Pete Orpit, who will also testify to the difference of working with client who's represented by someone who understands the unique issues that veterans face. We've been able to, through the Veterans Court, really build up the mitigation side of what happens for veterans. But what the problem we face is the defense bar is just simply not prepared for the volume of veterans who are coming home with problems that lead to criminal court. That's why we seek to train the defense bar. We want to certify them, and so veterans can tell the difference between an attorney that knows this stuff and the attorneys that don't. And then we would set up a referral network that connects veterans who call in with a certified attorney. We think this is essential to making sure that initial criminal contact is the last one, and we can use that criminal contact to get them the help they need, help them get over their Superman syndrome, and move forward in life. And at that point, I'd like to turn it over to Marco because we had to deal with some of that Superman syndrome with him.
Thank you, Mr. Els. But please identify yourself for the tape.
Good morning. My name is Marco Thomas Milosevic, and I'm a resident of Forest Lake, Minnesota. And as kind of Ryan was saying earlier, I guess a brief history of, I think, to capture everything. I joined the Army in April of 2001, right before 9/11. I was going to get my do my 4-year stint, get my college money, and get out. 9/11 happened when I was in airborne school, and the Ranger recruiter came around airborne school, and I raised my hand. I was 18 years old, and I decided I was going to volunteer to go do that. And as an 18-year-old man, I was already deployed to Afghanistan for my first time in 2001, 2002, right at the turn of the year. I went on to do 12 combat deployments with the Special Operations Unit. We came and went every 6 months for 6 months. And as that process went on, I started going through some pretty intense combat. In 2008, I served with Sergeant First Class Leroy Petrie. We were squad leaders together. And I don't know if you remember who he is. He's a living Medal of Honor recipient. One of the only reasons I'm in this room today is because of that man. And I say that just to give you a kind of an idea of kind of the intensity of some of the combat that was going on. I did my last deployment in 2010. I was working out of the State Department doing what we refer to as bearded cool guy stuff. So not wearing a uniform, growing my beard, having my long hair, doing things like that. As you can imagine. When I came home, each time I came home, it was a little more difficult to adjust into society. The Superman syndrome he refers to is, I think it's a problem we're all kind of aware of. And that's the problem that veterans, especially veterans in the special operations community, there's a stigma attached to raising your hand and saying, I think there's something wrong with me. I think I need to get some help. And I was one of those guys. I just kept going and going, deploying and deploying. Really on the inside, I was falling apart. As a matter of fact, somebody said to me, one of my commanders had said, I want to put you behind a glass case, and on the front of the glass case, I want to write break glass in case of a war, because whenever I came home, I was an absolute wreck. When I transitioned out of the military, I was 31 years old. I was separated because I had some nerve damage, issues with my back. I had about 3 or 4 knee surgeries, and I was just broken, physically and mentally. But I only showed the physical injuries, frankly. Nobody knew, and I didn't even really know at the time that later I'd be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress and a pretty traumatic brain injury. So fast forwarding to when I actually got out of the service. Like I said, I was 17 when I joined, I was 31 when I got out, and I saw the world in black and white. And I had one tool in my toolbox to solve problems. And that tool was, frankly, it was violence, because that was the only tool I needed when I was at war. So when I stood in front of a judge facing third-degree assault charges, I told him, frankly, that I feel like I was kind of set up to fail in a way. I was very fortunate to meet Ryan and to meet Brock Hunter and to work with the judge on getting me a second chance. Currently, I'm enrolled at Metro State University with aspirations of attending St. Thomas to work on my own law degree. I have a 4.0 GPA. I have about 60 credits down, and I've actually been invited by Metro State to write my own degree plan because of all the stuff I'm doing. I'm kind of a non-traditional individualized study person. I've worked quite a bit now with personally taking the lead on setting up a veterans court in Beltrami County that's still sort of in its infancy. I see it as a way for me to give back to Beltrami County Court, who gave me a second chance, and currently that's what I'm working on doing. I also mentor other vets who went through a difficult transition, much like I did. And frankly, we know, and it's in this book that they're referring to, we know that veterans, especially combat veterans, when they return home, a vast majority of them are going to struggle with alcoholism, drug abuse, domestic violence, run-ins with law enforcement. And we know that if we throw the book at them, instead of taking into account the nature of their service, some of the intensity of the combat they saw, that frankly, they're going to reoffend. The vast majority of them will reoffend, and we see veterans courts, like they said, as an intervention opportunity, a way for us to be able to intervene on the veterans' behalf and set them up for success. And if we really want to thank vets for their service, I think we owe them a second chance. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Orpett,
Thank you, Senator and Chair.
please identify yourself for the
I'm
tape.
Pete Orpett. I'm the Washington County Attorney. I've been a 30-year prosecutor, and I'm here on behalf of the Veterans Defense Project. When I first was elected county attorney in Washington County in 2011, the first thing I did was set up a veterans court. Prior to that, I'd been in Hennepin County watching as a great number of troops were coming through court. And I thought there has to be another way to approach it. Well, there were only a very few defense lawyers who had the skill and the compassion to help me try to unlock the armor that the military put on these people, emotional armor, so that when they got out, they were very difficult to treat, even though I knew before they went into service they weren't criminals at all. So what happened? And realized that the effects of long-term combat deployments does result in people sometimes acting out emotionally. And if my goal is to be a minister of justice, I needed to find a way to unlock it. I have been working with Ryan and Brock on a number of very successful cases, not unlike Marco's, and I can't continue to ask them to help me when they're doing it for free. That's gotten a little old after 7 years of this. And so I would urge you to consider the small sum of money that would really go long toward helping these veterans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Orpett. Senator Chamberlain.
Yeah, one last word, and let be open to questions. Is, at first I was a little hesitant, my nature being, someone wants, $700,000 to go to a couple of attorneys. Initially, the idea is, well, that's not really necessarily a great idea. What are they going to do with it? But I didn't serve like I served. I didn't serve in the areas that Mr. Milosevic, that's correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Served. And yet, even at that level, you come out of even guard weekends or the training or active duty out of the Navy, and yes, your mind still goes. And that's even without, doing what sergeant, right?
Yes, staff sergeant, but
Staff sergeant had to endure year over year. So I am fully committed to this. It's a great idea for a little bit of money. So and one thing you'll hear is just that argument. You'll hear, well, they're going to just fund the attorney's practice. I think we can review this in 2 years after the funding here and get a good idea of what we're doing. But it's not a lot of money to give them a shot. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chamberlain. Mr. Milosevic, thank you for your service and appreciate it. Is there anybody else in the audience?
Sean has a question.
Question? We have another testifier coming up here, so.
Thank you, committee.
No, we have the commissioner. You want
just want to say, Senator Anderson, it was a privilege to serve my country, so thank you.
Thank you. Sir, if you would identify yourself for the tape and go ahead and your testimony.
Chair Anderson, members of the committee, my name is Ben Johnson. I'm the Legislative Director for the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. I'm here to testify today. I spoke with Mr. Else yesterday afternoon for a good half an hour, trying to understand what the expectations were for this financial support and what the money would be doing. I want to thank Senator Chamberlain and Mr. Milosevic for being here today. In researching introductions of bills to support the veterans courts in the state of Minnesota over the past couple of years, myself and the folks at my agency have been surprised by the lack of information about veterans interacting with the criminal justice system. And one of the challenges for supporting veterans facing criminal charges is that a lot of veterans aren't willing to acknowledge their service as any sort of hindrance or any culpability about their actions. So the only suggestion that the agency would have, in addition to the language that's included, is to make sure that veterans are identified, that the veterans that are being served by this nonprofit organization are veterans in the state of Minnesota. We understand that the long-term goal really is to support a nationwide network of attorneys working on behalf of veterans. Minnesota alone has 46,000 new combat veterans since 9/11. So this is an issue that we're concerned about, and we just wanted to come today to acknowledge this organization for contacting MDVA. I know that they've talked with Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans. I know that they work as mentors in the veterans courts, and so we are in support of anything that can help prevent veterans from facing charges that, facing detrimental results from actions that could be attributed to their service, and this is one opportunity to do that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any others in the audience that would like to speak for or against the bill? Members, we have some questions. Senator Schoen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I really don't have a question. I just want to say thank you for coming to share. I can't imagine what you went through personally to get to this point. And what I want to say why this is such a big deal, because this just isn't a veterans deal. And if you followed along, I'm working on really bringing more awareness to PTSD and public safety officials, but not just that, but people who are victims of crimes of violence like sexual assault victims, you name it. And we get our best results and our most awareness when the toughest amongst us fall. And that is hard to watch, but it makes the world a difference to more people than you'll ever meet or ever get to hear thank you from. And you being here today is going to save people, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Members, Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to mention that Mr. Hunter and Mr. Ellis have been doing a tremendous amount of work pro bono helping veterans and helping lawyers learn how to take care of veterans. I really appreciate what you've done. And for Senator Chamberlain, believe it or not, I'm probably as stingy as you are in many things. And I think that we're going to see return on investment here many times more than the $700,000 that we're asking for. So thank you very much.
Any other questions, members? Senator Chamberlain, Senate File 394 will be held over for possible inclusion in the Omnibus Veterans Finance and Policy Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Thank you.
Thank you for the testifiers. Thank you. Our next bill on the agenda is Senate File 322, Senator Fischbach. Senator Fischbach, if you could identify yourself for the tape and proceed.
I'm Michelle Fischbach, and I'm here to present Senate File 322.
Senator Fischbach, if you could speak into the microphone.
Trying, yeah.
I'm trying to hear and not. Thank you.
Is it better?
That's better.
Really,
Thank
really,
you.
really close. Okay.
Thank
I'm sorry. Every room is a little different on how close you've got to be. Senate File 322 basically provides $100,000 in each year in 18 and 19 for de-escalation training, and it establishes criteria for that training, for the training provider. And included in that is an understanding of the challenges that veterans may experience. And I do have with me Mr. Mickles, who will provide additional testimony.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Mickles, if you could identify yourself for the tape, and please proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Bill Mickles. I'm the Associate Director of the Upper Midwest Community Policing Institute based out of New Brighton. I served as a police officer for over 30 years at the City of Burnsville, where I specialized in instructing in the use of force, skills, and leading the department's SWAT team. The Upper Midwest Community Policing Institute is currently receiving funding from the state legislature to deliver de-escalation training to Minnesota's community safety personnel to strengthen their ability to manage persons who are in crisis. I want to thank Senator Fischbach for sponsoring SF 322, and I'm asking for your support of this bill, which will continue that funding. As you may know, our de-escalation skills training began with a single objective of developing the skill level of community safety personnel or other first responders when they interact with military veterans in crisis. Minnesota's armed service members, including National Guard and all branches of the armed forces and reserves, have borne a heavy burden in recent overseas conflicts. This burden for many of those returning has made the reintegration to civilian life more difficult. It is estimated that approximately 10 to 20% of Minnesota's over 15,000 active and reserve service members continue to struggle with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, or both. Oftentimes that places them in direct contact with law enforcement personnel with opposing objectives. Today, our de-escalation skills class for community safety personnel has been updated to include teaching methods that will help them manage incidents with persons dealing with other mental illnesses or behavior disorders in addition to PTSD and TBI. As law enforcement officers get better at recognizing various types of mental illnesses and behavior disorders, along with the underlying conditions or addictions, they can be better equipped to protect themselves and those involved without the need for force. In our class, participants learn communication skills, intervention strategies, situational assessment skills, the ability to differentiate between illness-based causes of behavior and criminal-based causes of behavior, and measured responses that reduce the need or reduce the level of force needed to manage the situation while achieving their lawful objectives. At first, the attendance of our classes was small, averaging about 20 to 25 persons or less. As awareness of this topic grew, class sizes increased. Now, the average class size is 40-plus participants, with many chiefs of police asking to have their entire patrol divisions trained in this topic. Now, attendees include police officers, sheriff's deputies, state troopers, state and county corrections officers, and the DNR's conservation officers. They all have a legitimate interest as first responders to develop stronger skills at de-escalating persons in crisis rather than using force to control them. Our goal initially was to reach a tipping point where at least 25% of the state's 10,500 licensed peace officers have been trained in this program. As maps and the numbers demonstrate, we are just short of that goal and therefore request additional funding to reach or exceed that mark. We know that the number will always be a moving target as police officers retire and new officers replace them. But we feel that training a minimum of 25% of the officer population will increase a sustainability factor that will institutionalize these practices. I'd like to direct your attention to the map, which shows a distribution of how the training has been delivered throughout the state of Minnesota with the current funding. I'd like to close with a story as well. In delivering this training, I was asked by the chief of the Bloomington Police Department to schedule 3 classes in or around the Bloomington area because he wanted to do this training for all of his 120 patrol officers. And as we discussed that and accommodated his need, he gave me an update on one of the, after one of the classes. He said that one of his officers who had attended our training responded to a call for a disorderly person at the Mall of America. The officer linked up with the mall security and contacted the individual. Turned out that he was a veteran. He was having a bit of a meltdown, as they described it. And what was interesting is that the officer said to his chief, who told him the story, that I know I would have handled this differently, probably not as well, if I had just had that training and it was fresh in my mind. We have heard more than one story like that in this process of delivering these classes. So I just wanted to share with you that story and recognize that this stuff does work, and it's effectively changing the culture of law enforcement as well by asking them to slow down, spend more time, develop more rapport, and as an end result, use less force in the process of dealing with their crisis. I'd certainly like to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for your testimony. Senator Schoen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Miklas, thank you for the work you're doing on this. Would this be like a complete and full appropriation for your agency?
Mr.
The $200,000 over 2 years, or do you get funding sources from elsewhere?
Mr. Miklas.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, yes, we do have other funding sources. This funds this project only, yes.
Senator Schoen?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Miklas, how many classes do you think you're going to be asked to do in 17? And I see they're growing, and as a person who's had training in this, they're invaluable. Senator Limmer and I are working on legislation as well, and I believe I asked to sign on to this bill with you. Yep. Because I mean, this is actually, if they're doing it for $200,000, I think that's pretty magical. I mean, that's a really reasonable price. I'm curious about how many you expect to do, because in 14, you did 14 classes, if I'm reading your map right. Is that accurate? And then it went from 23 and 23, and people are they're gonna want more.
Mr. Miklas.
Right, Senator and Chairman and Senator. Yes, we can accomplish about 24 classes. That's our goal, with $100,000 per year over 2 years. So with the first 1 year, $100,000, 24 classes, and that with an average of about 35 people per class, it comes up to about 840 persons per 24 classes with $100,000.
Senator Schoen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Miklas, you do not have to provide this today, but do you have a link, or can you send me a copy of your syllabus for this training? And I'd be happy to get you a card, or maybe to the committee administrator that could disseminate it to us. I think one of the things that I also think would be invaluable to the committee is to read what actually gets done, because and I don't know how many days you do it, or if you use role players, so that's one of the things I'd like to see as well. And thank you for your work.
Okay.
Mr. Miklas.
Mr. Chairman, yes, Senator, I can get you a copy of the syllabus, a handout, if you'd like, a manual, student participant manual, and I'd be happy to do that and give you any other information that you're looking for.
Are there other questions, members? Senator Lang.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion that Senate File 322 be recommended to pass and re-refer to the Judiciary and Public Safety Committees.
Thank you, Senator Lang. Are there any additions or any further discussion on the motion? Then Senate File 322 has been moved to be passed and sent to Judiciary. All in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion is passed, and Senate File 322, Senator Fischbach, and your testifier, you're on your way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next testifier on the docket here is Senate File 205, Senator Uyghur. morning, Senator. If you could identify yourself for the tape and proceed with your testimony.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. I'm Chuck Wigger, and before us is Senate File 205. I have an author's amendment, and this is the first stop, and if Ms. James could please distribute that, and if someone would be so kind as to move it, I can then have the bill in the form.
Could I have somebody move the bill?
Mr. Chair.
Or the amendment.
Senator Newton.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move Senate File 205.
And that will be as amended, once we get the amendment in front of us. Members, have you got the amendment in front of you yet? No. Okay.
And Mr. Chair,
Could you explain your amendment?
Yes. Overall, the bill extends the exclusion. Right now, we have a market value cap at 8 years for property tax relief for the surviving spouse of a disabled veteran. And the amendment would make this for, there's two classifications. One is at 100% total disability. The other is 70% plus. And this makes clear that the category for 70% up to 100 is included as well. So it would include everything, and I think that's what it does. And then I'll just speak overall to the bill, and then we're going to hear from the star as to why
Thank you,
we're
Mr.
doing this.
Chair. Thank you, Senator Wager. Any objections to the amendment? Senator Newton, we okay with just including that in the, just incorporating that in the bill?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll incorporate that amendment then for you. Senator Wager, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. It was back in 2009 that the legislature passed in a strong bipartisan manner a tribute to veterans, disabled vets, to provide some limited property tax relief so they can stay in their home. And the bill back then had an exclusion. The first $150,000 on market value would be exempt from property taxes. And if you had 100% disability, then you could have up to $300,000 excluded. This was only for 1 year. Then it was modified again in 2011, 2014 for some extensions. My testifier, Christine Stone, has been on this journey ever since 2009 to talk about the need, which you'll hear shortly. Christine Stone was married for many years to Warrant Officer Victor Stone, and we're going to show a picture and pass that around. They met at Fort Snelling, and he survived the Battle of the Bulge in World War II some 72 years ago, and nearly 100,000, including the Allies, lost their lives in that war, in that battle, and thousands more just were disabled, injured, and Victor made it back. Warrant Officer Victor Stone, and today generations, with them being together and some 20 great-grandchildren, and the family keeps getting larger, but almost didn't make it back. I know how committed you are to honoring veterans and their family, because they pay that sacrifice, as you know, as well. And so the plea here is to have that exclusion, but to not have a sunset, but to lift it. And I want to thank Senator Lang and Senator Clausen, who have bills that you'll hear as well. I think there's some language that we can harmonize in tax committee to make it even better. So with that background, I'd like to introduce Christine Stone of Maplewood, my constituent, who has testified on the need for this for several years. She's a former Minnesota ARP Citizen of the Year, has been active in so many things, and we don't have time, but she's here to pay tribute to our vets And I'd like to introduce Christine Stone.
Thank you, Senator Uyghur. Please identify yourself for the tape.
Do you want me to talk about the picture first?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, that picture was taken in November, the Thanksgiving before my husband passed away. My grandson was newly married. He was going overseas on a mission with his wife, who was going to be teaching English in Vietnam. And so he knew his grandpa wouldn't be there when he came back. And so this was a picture he had made, and we used it as my husband was in hospice. We knew he had been in hospice for 3 days at Pillars. And my grandson had this picture enlarged and had sent to him just the day that he passed away. We showed him this picture when the nurses had moved him around, and he became aware we were there and smiled and acknowledged us. And we showed him this picture of my grandson and him as he was saying his last farewell. He smiled, acknowledged the picture, closed his eyes, and went to sleep. And so that picture is a very special picture to us. So when I was told I could bring a picture of that, my name is Christine Stone. I'm starting my 30th year as a volunteer advocate for seniors. I've been asked to give my opinion on Bill 205. This bill gives strength to a bill passed in 2010, which I had testified on along with a young widow who had lost her husband recently. That was Senator Uyghur's bill. It was very timely because my husband had passed away just a few months earlier, at which time his pension ended. He no longer had, he had been on only one form of disability until 4 years before he passed away. The disabled veterans, along with my son, were able to get him on full disability. My son is a retired occupational therapist and now works with his wife, who is an advocate for seniors. He was a big help. My husband was in the service for 12 years and had planned to be a career soldier. He was hoping to start officer training. He was a warrant officer. His accident while in service ended that. It was at the Battle of the Bulge when our troops were in retreat. They stopped in an area where there had been artillery activity. He jumped out of the truck with his backpack full of heavy gear into an artillery shell hole. That action did permanent damage and ended his career at the Army. I want to thank my senators, Chuck Uyghur and the others who were so thoughtful in sponsoring this bill. The benefit of not having to pay property tax has been so helpful since I'm only receiving Social Security and small IRA distribution. And I want to say I came to Minnesota from Texas in 1940. I fell in love with Minnesota, and when my husband went overseas, I came back here with a 1-year-old baby and bought a home where I still live 74 years ago, and I've had to do a little re-changing, but I'm still living in that home. So
70.
I'm 96, if I didn't say that.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. I appreciate your testimony, and I appreciate your willingness to share your husband with our country. Thank you. Mr. Uyghur, Senator Uyghur, any further comments?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the hearing, and again, thank you, Ms. Stone, and our plea is that she can stay in the home that she and Victor had lived for 70-some years, and that that when they do eventually reunite, they can say that it was all, her ability to stay at the home was made possible through actions that you have had. And this makes the difference for staying in that home for that additional property tax relief. So,
Great.
thank you.
We're going to do the best we can here. So, Senator Newton, would you renew your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to renew my motion to move Senate File 205 as amended for possible inclusion.
We're going to be, excuse me, we're going to be moving that on to taxes. So we'll renew that motion to say Senate File 205 will pass as amended to the Tax Committee. Any questions, any further discussion? Members, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is adopted. Senator Uyghur, you're on your way. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stone. Thank you for your service. Our next bill on the table is Senate File 71. Senator Clausen. Welcome to the committee, and please identify yourself for the tape and proceed. Thank you.
Good morning. Excuse me. Greg Clausen, Minnesota State Senator. And thank you, Chair Anderson, committee members, for the opportunity to share with you Senate File 71, a proposal to expand property tax relief for our disabled veterans. And this is the second of three bills that you're hearing this morning. They all deal with property tax exclusions for our veterans who are disabled. And each is very similar, but each has a little bit of a difference also. Well, currently, Minnesota tax code allows for disabled veteran homestead tax exclusion. And the purpose of the exclusion is to provide property tax relief for severely disabled veterans and their surviving spouses to help ease the economic burdens of our veterans. Senate File 71 seeks to modify conditions of the existing bill. And just a little bit of background, and Senator Uyghur also mentioned this. The current disabled veteran property tax exclusion provides for a property market value reduction for qualifying veterans who have a service-connected disability of 70% or more, as certified by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Senate File 71 modifies the existing disabled veterans property tax exclusion through three major considerations. The first, the property tax market value exclusion is increased from $150,000 to $300,000 times the disabled rating percentage of 70% or more. And so this bill establishes a sliding scale formula, so the amount of the exclusion that a disabled veteran may qualify is $300,000 times the veteran's disability rating percentage. So if it's 80%, would be 80% times $300,000 and so on. Senate File 71 provides a more realistic approach given current property tax market rates that are ever increasing. Secondly, if a veteran has 100% permanent disability and dies, leaving a spouse, the exclusion carries over for the current year and 8 additional years. But there are very specific requirements. The spouse must reside in the property, the spouse must be listed on the property title, and the homestead tax exclusion is void if the spouse remarries, sells, transfers, or disposes of the property. And then the third and last change in the bill, if a spouse dies due to a service connection cause while actively serving the military, in the military, the deceased veteran is deemed to have 100% disability for purposes of the homestead tax exclusion. The specific spousal qualification requirements apply that I just shared with you. Unfortunately, today I had Mr. Todd Kemery, representing the Paralyzed Veterans of America, was going to be testifying. He called earlier today saying he's not doing well and was unable to be here. But, excuse me. But I know he would like to share with you the importance of being able to stay in his home as he enters his elderly years, and also having the peace of mind that his spouse could do so as well. So with that,
Mr. Chair, committee, I'd stand for questions, and hopefully we could move this on with the other two bills to the tax committee.
Thank you, Senator Clausen. Any questions for the testifier? Could I have a member from the committee here move the bill for Senator Clausen? Senator Schoen.
To Tax Committee?
Yes.
So I'll move to Senate File 71. Am I on the right one here? Senate File 71 to be re-referred to the Tax Committee?
That's correct. With no further questions, Senate File 71 is been before us. It's moved now to be passed and sent to taxes. Any further discussion? If not, let's proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. The bill's passed on to taxes. Senator Clausen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Our last bill for this morning is Senate File 84, Senator Lang. Senator Lang, if you could identify yourself for the tape and proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Andrew Lang. This morning, I'd like to offer Senate File number 84, which is the Disabled Veterans Homestead Valuation Exclusion and Benefit Eligibility Extension to their surviving spouse. I know I'm 3 of 3, and at the risk of repeating what's been said and supported pretty strongly today by Senator Uyghur and Senator Clausen, that I think goes to show the support and the validity of what we're doing here. So I'm going to do it anyways. So as to the bill, Section 1 makes change to beneficial to a spouse of a disabled veteran or service member killed in the active service with respect to property taxes. Under the current law, the surviving spouse of a veteran with a total of 100% permanent disability rating or the surviving member of a spouse of U.S. Armed Forces who dies due to that service-connected cause while honorably serving their country can be excluded a specific amount of market value of their homestead from the property taxable market value. Under current law, the spouse that spouse may make the exclusion for the current taxable year of the veteran service member's death and 8 additional years, or until the spouse remarries, sells, or transfers the property responsibility. What this section does is it eliminates that 8-year limit. So the exclusion is available until the spouse sells, transfers, or disposes of their property. The section makes the exclusion available to the surviving spouse of the veteran who had not applied for the exclusion if certain conditions are met, and Mr. Dilks will speak to this a little bit later. Number 1, the spouse must file the first-time application within 2 years of the death of the veteran or by June 1, 2019, whichever comes first, or whichever is later, excuse me. And then number 2, the spouse must hold the title to the homestead and permanently reside there upon the veteran's death. The veteran must meet honorable discharge requirements. The spouse must meet annual application requirements. And number 5, and last, is the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs must certify that the veteran had a total and permanent disability rating had been awarded to the dependency or the indemnity compensation. So all those words being aside, I think Mr. Dilks has probably got a better story than I do.
Thank you, Senator Lang. For the testifier, if you'd identify yourself for the tape and proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Trent Dilks. I'm the Legislative Director for the Disabled American Veterans Department of Minnesota. I'd like to start out by telling the committee a story, an experience I had. In August of this last year, I sat down at the kitchen table with a terminally ill Vietnam veteran. He had been diagnosed with multiple forms of aggressive cancer, and found out he did not have long to live. He had never been in the VA system. He had never applied for benefits before. It came as a shock. I sat down, I did the claim with him and his wife. We got it submitted, and 4 days later we had him service-connected. They service-connected all 3 at 100%. They weren't sure which one was going to be the cause of death, and that's important later on. Unfortunately, in October, the veteran died. So 3 months after I had sat down and gotten those benefits for him, he passed away. With the current law for the homestead value exclusion, his widow cannot receive it. He died too quickly of his service-connected illnesses. As it's read right now and as it's interpreted right now, the veteran must be currently receiving the benefit. So this means this veteran, says it was in August, would have had to have applied by the following July, and then in a further decision that they had recently made, they have to be receiving it in that taxable year. So he would have to have lived to the deadline the next July this year, and then into January, so that he was actually receiving it in that taxable year. So unfortunately, he passed away in 3 months, and that leaves his widow outside of this property tax value exclusion. Estimates were somewhere around 500 widows that they're veterans, surviving spouses, that the veteran passed away too quickly, and the widow was left without this property tax protection and the ability to maintain that home. SF 84 is something we've been working on for a while. I've had an opportunity to meet with some of you. I'd like to thank Senator Lang for championing this for us. It does do 3 very important things. In this widow's case, she would now be able to apply as similar to a widow of an active duty service member. She would have a standalone eligibility to make the first-time application for the benefits. It also does what Senate File 205 would do, and it gets rid of the sunset. We're losing our Vietnam veterans at a younger age. Their surviving spouses are living longer, and we'd like to see them to be able to stay into their family home as long as they would like and not pushed out by property tax. And the last thing it does, it is a slight expansion, and in that 500 widows we were talking about, there's a group where they receive DIC, and one way to do that is for the veteran to have passed away as a result of a service-connected disability. That doesn't necessarily mean the veteran was 100% permanent in total. So a Vietnam veteran who is service-connected for diabetes, which is presumptive to Agent Orange exposure, it dies of diabetes complication, a direct result of their service, a direct result of being exposed to that herbicide, that spouse would then qualify for this as well, that protection. And what we're saying there is, if a veteran dies directly as a result of their service to this country, we want their surviving spouse protected. I appreciate all the work that has been done on this. I know we have co-sponsors here on the committee, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Mr. Dilks. Is there anybody else that has there's another gentleman that's coming forward for testimony. Senator Schoen, we'll get to you as soon as, okay. Please identify yourself for the tape and proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Ralph Donay. I'm chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council of Minnesota. We bring together 30-plus organizations to work for legislative issues. The issues that you see before you this morning on the taxation of property, unfortunately or unfortunately, I was around when those first ones came on the scene here at the Capitol. Representative Severson from Sauk Rapids introduced the idea. We got it passed. And as you heard earlier, it went from 1 to 3 to 5 to 8. And the young lady that was up here earlier testifying is definitely a reason why you don't want a limit on how long this tax exemption could go, because many of our folks today live a lot longer than they used to, and who are we to tell some lovely lady like that that you got to sell your house and get out of it because we're jacking your taxes back up. The ultimate sacrifice that we give as veterans, and I can testify to that. I'm a 30-year retired Marine, and I have seen many of our veterans sitting on the side of the road because they didn't have a home. Some of them, have pulled aside. Jerry Kaiser wanted to be here today to talk to the earlier things that you talked about, because we're talking about the veteran community here. All these different hats that you see out here. This is the veterans community. We're not one organization. We are veterans. And we ask that you really add all these up, because each one of them has a little bit of a better deal, and we add them all together to make a great deal. And so I would ask that you consider this. take it to heart, take care of our veterans, because as Dr. Chu said years ago, anything that the military does to take away from beans and bullets, we want nothing to do with. So once you got out of the service, you were dumped. No more support. If those of you that have been around a while, you know they took away all our hospitals across the United States. So the young men and women coming back from Iraq and other places, they say, why are they on the VA right away? There are no military hospitals to send them to anymore. They're all gone. So we have to take care of our veterans, and I don't want to lecture you about Veterans Affairs on the national level, but that's a topic for another day. But please do your best to get this through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donay. I know Senator Schoen's got some questions for the testifiers.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Either testifier, Senator Lang, or anybody. And so since I'm new, I apologize for having questions about this, but I heard you, I wanted to clarify one thing that you said, sir. When you met with the individual, and this has nothing to do with the bill, quite frankly, well, it does, but you said there was this time gap. If he had been in the VA system, was there a time gap in there that if he had been in the VA system, then she would get it?
Mr. Dilks.
From the time they got the diagnosis to the time I sat down with him, it still would have been too quick. The illness was still too aggressive. Had he registered and been using benefits for other things, he was not dealing with that cancer for an extended period of time. From diagnosis to the time that I sat down with him was a couple weeks, so he'd already missed the July deadline, and then he was not able to survive the 16 months that it would have been required.
Okay.
Senator Schoen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So he needed to be on benefits for 16 months of some sort before to get, or I don't know what that's the basis of my question. And so what I'm really getting at is it appears that there's a time frame in there, and when you talk about homelessness, this has been one of my issues is, folks will come in and advocate for one thing related to taxes, but then I don't hear them saying the same things that you did. When I sat on tax committee before was, I think when we have veterans, we should be able to have 0% homelessness amongst veterans because we should know where they are because they served our country. That's what I want to get to. But you're telling me there's people out there that, we maybe might know they served, but they haven't come forward. I'm not asking you to figure out to solve this problem today, Senator Lang, but
Mr. Chair,
how do we get to folks and make sure that they come in and sign up?
Senator Lang.
Mr. Chair, Senator Schoen, I think what you're kind of alluding to is a little bit of a pride situation when it comes to veterans. A lot of veterans, if they can afford their own health coverage, won't go to the VA. I've seen it myself. I've experienced it. They think that the VA is for the less fortunate veterans, and that's, I think, is possibly, and I'm just speculating here, but I'm maybe guessing that's where it went. And then when it came down time to where he had to make that decision where, possibly losing a home, then what we're doing is we're fixing that here, so.
Mr. Dilks.
Mr. Chair, Senator, one of the things, and one of my roles with the Disabled American Veterans is to do service officer work, and through that work, I've done an increasing number of terminally ill veterans claims. I go to their home, I work through them, and I work with them. And it's also the Vietnam veterans, and we see it, and I think maybe it's not given the publicity that it deserves, but I run into Vietnam veterans that are still suffering from the effects of how they were treated when they came home the first time. They went to their county, they went to whoever was doing claims at that time, and they were from a different era, a prior era than that, and they were treated poorly, and that was it. I sat down with a veteran who should have been 100% back from, he got home from Vietnam in 71. I sat down with him 2 years ago. He got treated badly in 72, and he had not talked to anybody since. He was not in the system. He was not tracked. He'd been wheelchair bound since that time. It was a clear-cut case. He is now 100% permanent total. But because of that reaction to him in 1972, he had not spoken to anybody until I sat down with him in 2015 is when I did that case. So we're still dealing with the effects of that as well. And these veterans not identifying and not coming out of the woodwork. I did note that we have just peaked on, they believe we've peaked on Vietnam veteran claims for service connection in the disability world. So that's how slowly they're trickling in and coming back to that system.
Senator Shaw?
Well, thank you for helping educate me. I mean, I hope my line of questioning comes across as I want to make sure that these folks get what they have coming due to them that they earned, and I appreciate it.
Members, are there any other questions or concerns? Or we have another person that wants to testify. And if there are others that would like to testify, please let us know.
Thank you.
Please identify yourself for the tape and proceed.
Tom Diamond, DFL Veterans Caucus. I just wanted to follow up on this and the previous bills, because I think this is really important, what you've got before you. First of all, I'd like to thank the chair and other members of what a bipartisan approach that has been taken on this to help the veterans out, that really working on it. And the number of groups, as Ralph pointed out, the number of groups that have come at this to try and have dealt with individuals in the veterans community out there and their families, and have found how there's these gaps in this program, and have come to it with different pieces to the table. And that's where I'd like to mention is that I hope you take these different pieces, these bills that have been brought in by individuals, and find a way to pull the good pieces and put them all together, because I see them as very compatible. They're just different parts of a greater puzzle. And I also want to follow up on the spouse point, and that the provisions that are in here. I've been married 47 years, and I can't tell you enough about how significant it is to the veterans, their spouses, and what the spouses have done as members of their life going through this period of time. They also serve this country, and that they're being remembered and that they're being provided for in these proposals is cannot be understated, the importance of that. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against the bill? A gentleman coming forward here now.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Please identify yourself for the tape and proceed.
I'm Tom McLaughlin. I'm the legislative chairman for the Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of Minnesota. And I came up from Mankato this morning. The weather was fine this time, Mr. Chair, so I got here safely. Anyways, all three of these bills have been discussed at our legislative conference last weekend at our midwinter conference here in Minneapolis, and versions of them were discussed. And we actually took action in our organization to support a bill similar to Senator Wigger's bill. But the information related today and in the past about people coming forward with DIC or widows whose veteran were not in the system, the VA system, getting something serious like prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, and dying in a very short time. I think I can speak for our membership that we would support the additional eligibility requirements for the widows to receive a permanent tax relief for their property. So I'll go out on a limb and I'll speak for the organization and say that, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Thank you for your service to our country. And any questions for the testifiers here? If not, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. And Senator Lang, would you move your bill? And where's it going to?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this point, I'd like to move the bill, or make the motion that it would pass and be re-referred to the Tax Committee.
Senator Lang makes a motion to move Senate File number 84 to have it pass and move on to the Tax Committee. Is there any further discussion? If not, let's proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried, and the bill's passed. Senator Lang, you're on your way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for being attentive. We appreciate your support. And at this time, the Veterans Service Committee is now adjourned.